Thank you, Mr. Bessent. Before I begin my questions, I want to reemphasize how appreciative I am of your diligence in the process that we've gone through vetting here in this Senate. I appreciate the more than 3,000 pages of supporting material you've provided, as well as the countless hours you and your staff have offered to respond to questions from members of this committee. Let me be clear. You followed all of the applicable law and met the committee's long-standing diligence standard. Your process matched that which has applied to nominees in every previous administration. And I want to go in my first question to you to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which Senator Wyden and I have both mentioned already, and you've mentioned in your remarks. The attack on this statute, this law, which is law, I remind everybody it is the law now, it was passed in 2017, is that it was a tax cut for the wealthy. I appreciate you, Mr. Bessent, noting that it will be a $4+ trillion tax increase if we do not extend this law. And a point that I would remind all of my colleagues is that if that $4+ trillion tax increase happens, it's not just going to be something that impacts the wealthy. It is $2.6 trillion of it. The majority of it falls on people who make less $400,000 for a family with 2 taxpayers, under $400,000 per year. That's the number that President Biden chose to say he wanted to protect it. $2.6 trillion of this tax cut hits those making less than $400,000. Moreover, massive amounts of it hit pass-through entities, small businesses across this country. This is not a tax cut for the wealthy that we're talking about. It is a tax increase on all Americans, the majority of whom are in the lower and middle income categories. My question to you is, one of our pivotal tasks is to make sure that this tax increase does not happen. Can you give us your perspective on the impact that would occur in this country if we allowed this $4 trillion tax increase to happen?
Senator Crapo, thank you for this, and thank you for the meetings over the past few weeks. I've enjoyed working with your staff. And this is the single most important economic issue of the day. This is pass-fail. That if we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people. We will see a gigantic middle-class tax increase. We will see the child tax credit halved. We will see the deductions halved. So it will be what we call in economics, it has the potential for a sudden stop. And as I said, traditionally with these sudden stops, it falls on working Americans.
Thank you. And I would just say to you, you may be aware of this, but the Tax Foundation has indicated that if we do sustain these tax cuts and protect them from expiring and stop this tax increase, that the extension of this policy would increase the growth of the GDP in the United States by 1.1% over time. Similarly, and I don't know how they came up with the same number, but the National Association of Manufacturers indicates that if we don't extend this tax relief, that there will be a 1.1% reduction in growth of jobs and development in our economy. It seems to me that as we are talking about what to do for America, that protecting America from a 1% reduction versus a 1% growth in GDP is a critical objective. Could you just give a little bit of perspective? I know you've just answered this question in another context, but could you just give a little bit more perspective on those kinds of dynamics? And I'm sorry, I'm going to try to keep to 5 minutes, and we've only got about 15 seconds left of mine, and I want to be sure everybody else stays on time, so I will too. Could you quickly respond?
Well, Senator, I would just say that we saw the power of these tax cuts in 18, 19, and going into January of 20 before they were interrupted by COVID, and the great success that we had.
Thank you.